Hi, this is Carl from Web Courses Bangkok and welcome to the HTML start of our beginner course. We've now got our slices and dices and we've got all the pieces of the jigsaw puzzle ready to put together using HTML. In this screencast we're going to be using HTML5 and I'm going to show you a couple of different ways of going from HTML4 to HTML5. HTML5 gives us some wonderful tags, things like header and footer, that make things a lot easier. So, enough talking and let's get started. Once you have Dreamweaver open, we're ready to do Create New HTML. So just quickly click on that. Now, the way I have it set up is on the left hand side I can see my code, on the right I have my design view, and then on the far right here we can see the files. Before we start any code, we first need to do a new project. So first of all, go to Site, New Site. We'll give it a name and we'll just call it Beginner Web Design. The local site folder is actually what we created in the previous screencast when we were doing the slicing and dicing. You'll remember that's hopefully on your desktop. So click on Browse Folder, go to Desktop, and then just select the Beginner Web Root. Double click, and there we are. Now we don't need to go inside the Images folder because that isn't the root of our website. Click on Select, and then click Save. And on the right hand side now you'll see those files relevant to that project. Every time you do a new project, I highly advise you do that because you can help Dreamweaver sort out your files and help you do your code. Now we're going to set up a couple of things before we get going. First of all, I'd like you to turn off word wrap. So go to View, Code View Options, and then turn off word wrap. The reason for that is that your code can get quite long, and having word wrap just makes it even longer. There we go, much better. Now before we go any further, let's just quickly go from Code, Split, and Design View. So you can quickly go from the different types of views just by clicking on the top left hand corner. The one that we'll be using mostly is Split View, but right now I'd like you to use Code View. What we want to do now is we're going to actually be doing the programming in HTML5. So all this stuff that you see is actually HTML4. So we can quickly get rid of some of the things. Just click just to the right of HTML there on line 1 and go right to the end until you meet the last angle bracket and hit delete. Isn't that beautifully simple? You've just gone from HTML4 to HTML5. We need to change one more thing and we just need to delete this as well. So we just have HTML at the start. And that's one of the wonderful things about doing HTML5 is they actually made it a little bit easier. Now let me show you that again, but in an easier way. So I'm just going to close this down and I'm not going to save it. And this time what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to File and New. And this brings up a new document section. On the bottom right hand corner here, the doc type we can change to HTML5. Click on Create and you'll see that it's much simpler, and just as we did it before. Alright, so you can always go to File and New and then choose HTML5 as your doc type. Now the nice thing about working with HTML is it's just top to bottom, left to right. So you can just slowly go through it, plodding along step by step. So the first thing I want to do is change our title. So I'm going to highlight this and I'm just going to put Carl Heaton Online Portfolio. There we go. So we won't see that yet, okay, but we'll see that when we view in the browser. Now one of the first things that we need to do is we're going to be adding some of the content areas. So what I'd like you to first do is go inside the body, alright, and this is where we're going to insert our image. So if you remember from the design, we have, if I just bring that up now, we have an image here. So we're going to insert that first. Now inserting images is very easy with Dreamweaver because it really helps you. Now let me show you the long way. The long way is actually typing it in yourself. So I'm going to hit Tab, and then I'm going to go image. So img. Oh, it's already helping us. Great. So press space. Next one I know is sr. Oh, source. Very helpful. And I'm just going to press enter. Browse. Now that looks interesting. So I'm going to hit enter again. Oh, it's taking me to my images folder. So I double click on images. I look down for my icon. There it is. And click OK. Now you'll get a message here saying that this isn't relative. The reason for that is we haven't saved the file yet. Just click OK and you'll see it there. Now it's not the prettiest thing, but as soon as we save this file, that'll get a lot nicer. So let's carry on. So I think I'm going to give the width, because I know that that makes my page load a little bit faster. There you go, width 94. And then height, oh, 119. It's as if Dreamweaver knows, and it does. And that's a lovely thing about Dreamweaver. It helps you in little small ways. It saves me having to go and find out the height and width of my images. Enter again. Ready for the next thing. Now, as we know, we always like web standards and we like helping accessibility. So for every single image you ever add, please always add an ALT, press enter, alt tag. So I'm just going to call this online portfolio logo. So I'm going to move right with my arrow keys now. Alright, and I'm going to press space, slash, and finish off my image. Very easy. Now if I go back to split view and click on the right hand side, there's my image. Very useful. So let's save. So file and save. And I'd like you to call this index.html. Index is always the first of a page that comes on a website. Press enter and there we go. And you'll see obviously as well the source has changed to be a lot nicer, a lot friendlier. Now another way of inserting images with Dreamweaver is, I'm just going to delete this actually, and I'll show you another way. So I'm going to give myself some space. There we go. Alright, now you'll see it's still on the right hand side here. That's just because I have not clicked here to update it. So back inside the code here. So another way of inserting images is actually going to insert in the menu area, image, find the image that you want to select, click OK, and it'll ask you for an alt text, so online portfolio logo, enter, and there you go. So you can do it either way you want. Alright. Personally I like to write it myself. Right, let's move on. So next thing then is we're going to put in a p tag, and we're just going to put in your name. So this is going to be the name of the website. So it's a HTML5 online portfolio. Alright, so I move on to the next thing. Now there's the problem. Because I didn't open my tag and end the tag, you can sometimes forget. So you can move on to different things and then you get very bad code. So let me do that again. So I'm just going to delete that. P tag, and then just do the slash and it will end it for you. It's very, very useful. Okay, and it stops you making mistakes. And I'm going to use my arrow keys to go back in the middle. Now I can write it. HTML5 online portfolio. Click on the right and there it is. So let's do that again. So we're just going to put p tag, np tag, back in the middle, and then just put your name. Alright? So unless you're called Carl Heaton, don't forget to put your own name. Now you'll remember with Photoshop that you have groups, and it's kind of the same idea with HTML. You have areas. Now this is the header area, so I'm going to go back to the top of body, and I'm going to come down, and I'm going to write a header tag. There we go. Then I'm going to go to the end of the text and end the header tag. Alright? Now the nice thing about this is that it helps you identify different areas. And to help you identify even better, I'm going to highlight these three areas and press tab. And there we go, I've got a nice clear header. Great, so we're ready to move on now. So I'm just going to refer back to Photoshop just to see what's next. Great, so now we need to do an unordered list for our navigation. So move back to Photoshop and then back to Dreamweaver. And now we're ready to do this. So I'm going to go for a UL, end UL. Again, I'm ending my tags before I move on. Back in the middle, press tab, and this is a little trick of how to use Dreamweaver to help you. I'm only going to do one LI, like so. Open and close. Back in the middle and click home. Now if I move my cursor to the right hand side, I then get home. Now I could go ahead and do LI until I finish the whole navigation, or on the right hand side I press enter and about. And now again, don't forget I'm on the right hand side here. I'm doing things in the design view. You can always move from left to right, code to design, but keep your eye on the code. Again, about, services, enter, portfolio, enter, contact. Lovely and easy, and that's the way we like it. Now the next thing we want to make these into links. Now let me show you the long way, and then I'll show you the easy way. The long way is going over here in the code, doing A, because we know that that's the tag for doing a link. Finish A, that's very useful. Back over, space, href, oh, helping us again. Press enter, and I'm going to go to index.html. That's where I want people to go when they click home. So if I move to the right hand side and click, I've made a link. But I'm sure there's an easier way to do it, and there is. So highlight about, and then just move down to the properties bar here at the bottom. If you can't see the properties bar, go to window, and then you'll see properties just here, the second one down. Okay, so back. We've highlighted about, and then we just go to link and we put in about.html. Wow, that was easy. Highlight services, services.html. Portfolio .html. And lastly, contact.html. Now most importantly here is remember to always use lowercase, because when we start making the other files and we start making about.html, it's easy for me just to remember it's going to be lowercase, and then I'll not have a broken link. So let's go back to Photoshop now, and great, it's our banner and then it's our heading here. So just close that down. Now it's up to you if you want to have Photoshop open in the background of this screencast, but I do recommend when you are making a website to have your design at hand, just so you know what you're doing and you know what text and images and what order they come in. So next on our list then is going to be our section. So this time is going to be a section, and then we'll end it there, section. There we go. So this is going to be our main content area. So inside here I'm just going to tab over, and the first thing we want to do then is image. Image source, enter, select your banner, click OK, width, enter, height, enter, and then move over, and I'm actually going to go to code view just so I can see everything. I'm going to move over and Alt, we love clean, simple design. Remember, you're describing the image, and especially if there's any text on the image, you must put that into your alt text. So now I'm going to be moving on to my H1. So H1, so I don't forget. And we're advertising ourselves as a professional web designer. So that means if anyone types in Google professional web designer, hopefully we'll be up there. Great, so now I just need a little bit of text. So I'm going to go back to Photoshop, and here's my text. I can select T, go inside my Photoshop file, and I can just select all of this here. Now if you prefer, you can always go to lipsum.com. So back to here, I'm going to open a P tag, and then I'm going to paste my text. Now this sometimes confuses people. They sort of get lost because of the fact that we've moved over. So just drag the scroll bar over to the left and you're back to normal. Alright? Great. So you can see here we've got the whole P tag. and again, having no wrap makes it much easier. So hit enter, and then we'll go right back to the side here, ready for the next thing that we need to do. Now the next thing we want to do is actually insert the image. So I'm going to go back to split view, and there we go. I've got my H1 there, looking very, very nice. Alright, and then what we want to be able to do is also have the image on the right hand side. Now with where things are, that's CSS, and I want you to actually just make a space in between the image here, and then we're going to put in another image that we're going to be putting on the right hand side. So img source, enter, enter, and this time we're going to put in websites. So click OK, width, enter, enter, height, enter, enter, and alt, website examples. Now the reason that we're putting this here is because we want it to appear on the right hand side at the same level as the text. So let me finish this off, slash, like this. Now by putting the image here, when we move over to the right hand side, it will fit in very, very nicely just on the same side as the text. And you'll see that when we start doing the CSS in another screencast. So just to recap, we created a section, we added the first banner, the heading 1, Professional Web Designer, we opened and closed the P tag, copied some text from our design so we know it's the same amount, and then we put in the image here. Okay? So you'll see this as you start developing your own websites. You'll see that the importance of where and the order of the text, especially when you're doing things like different columns, or you're putting your images on the right left hand side. Right, we're doing really well. We are definitely cooking on gas here. Now, I'm a stickler when it comes to my code. I like it to look perfect. The reason is because when you come back to it, it's important to have good looking code so you can find if there's any problems. So I'm just going to click and get rid of this extra line that I don't need. Quick way to get back, press home on your keyboard. Wonderful. So that looks really nice. And the nice thing is I can easily see this is my header, this is my nav, this is my main section. Alright. So the next one is the footer. So enter, enter, and we'll just do footer. There we go. And then back in the middle and tab. Alright, so now we're going to be adding the icons first because we want them to be appearing on the right hand side. So I'm just going to go for image, source, enter, enter, and we'll do Twitter first. Click OK. Width, enter, enter, height, enter, enter. And I'm hoping by now you'll start realizing that it can be quite relaxing doing HTML because you end up doing the same things over and over again, and it makes it very, very easy. Especially if you follow the rules that I've been giving you, you stop making mistakes. So let's see a little bit more code, and I'm going to move over and we're going to do Alt, Twitter, and then finish off the tag. Great, so let's do Facebook now. Again, img src, enter, enter. Onto Facebook, width, enter, enter, height, enter, enter, and then alt. Alright, Facebook. And I can see I've made a mistake there. I need to change this to be T. Do be wary of that. That does happen a lot as well, so do be careful. Always keep checking back your code. Finish that off, and there we go. Now the nice thing is, again, I can do a little bit of cheating. I want these to go to Twitter and I want them to go to Facebook. So if you want to make a link out of an image, click on the image first, move down to link, and then just go to http://www.twitter.com. And then the next one is going to be Facebook. So that's http www.facebook.com. Now you must put the HTTP if you're linking to a separate site. Alright? If you don't, you'll have a broken link. So I think we'll save that now. Alright, so we're just going to go to File and Save. Now a nice thing to do is always use the shortcut when you're working away. So just do Control and S. Now something that gives Dreamweaver a bad name is that it sometimes messes up your code, and here's a perfect example. So you can see here now that this has moved up a line, but very easily press enter and tab and I've fixed it. So you do keep an eye on for things like here when we did align instead of alt. Keep an eye that you're using the start of the code and then the end of it so you don't forget to do it. And then lastly, keep things nice and neat, just so you've got everything in a very easy way to understand when you quickly look at your code. So we just need a little bit more text now, and that's going to be our copyright. So I'm going to use my end key and then press enter. So now I need a special key for this one. So again, we're going to do our p tag and move in the middle. Now personally, I don't remember all those special characters for copyright and TM and things like that, so I'd like Dreamweaver to help me. So I'm going to go to Insert, HTML, Special Characters, Copyright. Wonderful. Or alternatively, you can remember that yourself. So I'm going to do Carl Heaton, (2011), soon to be 2012. Alright, so there we go. So now what we're doing, we're ready to then move on and we can start editing and adding all the things that will help us with the CSS. Now the next part is going to be helping us with the CSS, and we're just going to do this slowly, step by step, starting from the top. So we have header here. Now the thing is, we have two p tags, but if I give some CSS styling to the p tag inside the header, both of these will change. So we need a way of identifying them. The way we do that is by adding, in this case, is a class. So I'm going to go now inside the p tag, click space, and then I can add a class by moving down with my arrow keys and press enter. Now if it doesn't help you, you can write it yourself. To add a class or an ID, which helps us with the CSS in the next session, then you can write it yourself. CLASS equals and then 2 speech marks. This one we're going to call tagline. Now when we do any names for classes and IDs, make them nice and obvious so you know what it is. So when you start doing the CSS, you know what you're actually styling. Again, I'm going to go inside the P here, class. Oh, Dreamweaver being a bit too helpful there. Class. Oh, it stopped helping. Now if it stops helping you, just go back to the P here and press space, and there we go. Move down to class, and this one we're going to call title. So the next thing we need to do now is name this UL here, because we might be having ULs, in fact I'm pretty sure we will, having UL inside the content area. So we need to differentiate this from all the other ones. So to do that, I'm going to then do an ID. So click inside the UL, space, ID, enter. And this one's called our nav. Very simple, very easy. Let's move down. Now sometimes you can have different sections, so we're going to give this one an ID as well. Space ID equals 2 speech marks, and this is called content. Surprising that, isn't it? So when you are doing the IDs or the classes, make them really obvious for yourself, because it really helps. The way I like to describe it is that you're sort of making it easier for you to take the next step. Great. Now we need to do one little thing here, and this is on the websites. Now what you can also do is put classes and IDs on individual images or individual p tags. In fact, you can put them on anything. So we want to put this websites.jpg right at the end here. We're going to do class float right, and in the later series we're going to add a class that actually be able to put our images on the right hand side here. As you can see, no changes are happening yet, because all the magic happens when we start doing the CSS. Great, so let's move on. The next thing we need to do is the same thing we've just done here, class float right. So I'm going to be a lazy web designer and I'm going to copy. I can copy by right clicking and going to copy, or I can highlight and go to edit and copy. But the best way to do it is highlight and do Command and C for copy, Control and C if you're using a PC. Now nicely we've got our alt text here for the other images. So I'm going to move down, and inside the image, so just after the alt text, space and paste. Again, space and paste. Because if you look back at our design, you can see that they're on the right hand side. Great, so back to Dreamweaver, and there we are. Perfect HTML5. And this is what Google will see. Alright, so when you are choosing and doing your HTML, all you need to do is look at your design and work through it. An image, a p tag, a UL, a banner, H1, main paragraph, some images on the right hand side, your footer with a copyright text in the middle. So you just gradually work bit by bit through it. So let's have a last look in our browser. To do that, we're going to just go to here, which is the preview browser. So preview in Chrome. Now it'll ask you to save, so you just need to click yes. And there we go. And you'll notice here it's got the portfolio. We've got our image, so it's IMG, p tag, UL, LI with an A inside it, an IMG, another IMG, H1, some text which is a P, two images here which are links, so it's first an A and then an IMG, and then we've got a p tag here. So this is what search engines see, and it's also what's read out to people who are blind. So you can see the order in which it's done. I'm going to right click, view page source, and you can see that we've got beautiful, perfectly laid out HTML that's very easy to understand. So well done you. So that's everything for doing HTML. I hope you enjoyed that, and I hope you continue to learn more and more HTML. We then set up ourselves for doing the CSS, so we added some classes and some IDs, and we're going to be covering that in the next CSS tutorial. If you've got any questions about the course or this screencast, please go to www.webcoursesbangkok.com. Thanks. Bye.